Welcome to this live chat. We've got a timely issue today. I'm Kenn Elmore. I'm the Dean of Students here at the university, and we want to talk a little bit about fires, fire safety. The last couple of weeks, we've had some fires that have affected the BU community, namely some students, almost 18 students between Beacon Street, where we had a fire, and most recently in Linden Street in Allston, where we had a fire. So we thought we'd come together today just for a quick live chat. Hashtag BU Chats, and we'd be more than happy to, if we see anything come up on Twitter or on the site, to be able to answer your questions. I've got a couple of guests who've joined me, and I want to start with Steve MacDonald. Steve MacDonald is a part of the Boston Fire Department. Steve, tell us where we are.
Right now we're down at the Engine 41 Ladder 14 Firehouse. It's down Union Square, just down the street from the Brighton Music Hall, and it's first due to a lot of the buildings at BU.
All right. And Steve, just one quick thing. I understand you are the person from the Boston Fire Department that we'll see using Twitter and getting information and photos out to us too.
Right. Twitter has turned out to be a great social media for the department. We try to get breaking news and just updates out there as quick as possible. We have a lot of followers, and it's just it's the way to go now.
And if we wanted to follow you, how would we follow you on Twitter? What's your handle?
It's just at BostonFire, all one word, BostonFire.
Hey, thanks, and thanks for letting us come here and talk with you a little bit today.
Glad to have you. It's such an important subject, and it's glad to see BU taking the initiative to do this.
Great. I also have joining me Chris Rowell. Chris works for the university as well. And Chris, why don't you tell us where you are and what you do at Boston University?
Sure. I work in environmental health and safety. I'm a manager of campus and clinical safety, as well as the university's fire safety officer.
So what does that mean? You fight fires at the university? What do you do?
No, we do building inspections. We interface with the city officials, the Boston Fire inspectors from fire prevention. We work with Brookline as well to make sure all of our buildings are inspected and safe. Also, we respond to emergencies. We're all hazmat technicians and deal with laboratory incidents and outside events like oil spills and things like that.
All right. So I want to ask you both. We just had, as you know, some pretty high-profile circumstances, some fires right near the campus that affected our students. Let's just start off. We're not going to be able to talk anything about the actual cause or anything like that, but what are some of the things that you see that you wish students would think a little bit more about as they go out into new apartments, new living environments?
Right. I mean, the first thing is working smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. It's the law, and when especially you living off campus, make sure your landlord is providing you with working smoke detectors. If not, report it right away. And then, the thing really is common sense when your day-to-day activity at home. Don't leave candles unattended. Don't block exits. Extinguish cigarettes properly. I mean, just real common sense things, things the students can do to really, help their own safety in the house.
Chris, what are some of the things that you see around campus, particularly in some of the apartments that we have, that you wish people wouldn't do?
Yeah, in our apartments, we have kitchens, obviously, in those locations, and some of the students, really, we want them to pay attention to what they're doing. A lot of students will be on the phone, on the computer, walk away from the stove while something's cooking. We really want you to pay attention to what you're doing. And some of the older stoves that, you may have a gas appliance, those have broilers. Those aren't drawers. They aren't drawers for the pots and pans. So don't put your oven mitts in there. Don't put your cutting boards in there. And these are real situations we've had on campus where folks have used that as a storage room and actually had some minor fires.
So it sounds like those people need a cooking class or two as well.
Yeah.
We're here with a live chat, middle of the day, quick live chat. We're talking about fire safety, particularly for students and young people. We are here in Allston in Union Square at the fire station. We're talking with Steve MacDonald from Boston Fire Department, and Chris Rowell, who joins us from the university's Environmental Health and Safety. If you've got a question, feel free to go ahead and hashtag BU Chat, and we'll be more than happy to bring your question in. And you can also put a question on the site, what you're looking at now, for the live chat. We'll keep an eye on that too. So until we get a question, I'm just going to keep asking them then. So you talked a little bit, Steve, about CO2 detectors and smoke detectors. Are those one units, or is that something that's two separate units that I should look for?
Usually they're separate. Usually the smoke detectors are mounted on the ceiling, and the carbon monoxide detectors are mounted in wall outlets. They can be on the wall. They usually make different sounds. course, carbon monoxide, we just recently had a couple in the city incidents, and it's usually from a gas-fired stove or a water heater or something like that. So it's just, make sure the batteries are working. For smoke detectors, if you're cooking, from time to time we have people cooking and the smoke detector goes off, so they take the battery out. We don't want to do that. Leave the battery in.
And I had heard about fire departments giving out batteries or coming to sort of do consults with you if need be in your household. Is that something that you folks do here in Boston?
Yeah, well, we'll absolutely do it. We want to be helpful to the students. A lot of them are new to the city, when they start their freshman year. In the dorms, when if you eventually choose to live off campus, we'll help you. You just have to call, you can email, you can contact us even through Twitter. But the BU does a pretty good job of educating the freshmen during the orientation on what to do, and you just really, again, I keep going back to common sense things in the household. You just really have to take a minute for fire safety and put that candle out if you're leaving the room. Don't leave the stove unattended. Work and smoke detectors, all these things, common sense.
So you see a lot of fires, I'm sure. What do you see that you just think entirely preventable? This happens so often. I wish people would stop doing that.
We see portable heaters. People leave them on and they use them to heat a room when they're only supposed to help out in a temporary basis. People will fall asleep, they'll toss and turn, and the next thing you know, the blanket's sitting on top of the heater, and before you know it, there's a fire. Cigarettes are probably a big thing. It's not just going out in the back porch and flipping the butt when it's over, because a lot of times those butts end up on the porches and they simmer and simmer, and next thing you know, we have fires. Put the cigarettes out properly. Again, don't leave the stove unattended. People throw something on the stove, go in and catch the next quarter of a sports program, and before you know it, there's a fire in the kitchen. Use some common sense.
And Chris, you certainly see plenty as well on campus. In addition to things like stoves and fires at stoves, what are some other things that you see that you say, boy, I just wish students wouldn't do that?
Yeah, well, for certainly our off-campus living environments, folks want to have a grill in the summer especially. It's really important that those are on either the ground level, outside on the back of the house, and not on the upper levels. And unfortunately, several years ago, and I know Steve can probably speak to this, so we have fires in the city where folks have their grills on a higher level of the home, not only against the city regulations, but it's really dangerous. So those unattended cookings on the back stoop, that's I have one question for Steve, if we could.
Yeah, sure.
If I have an off-campus living environment and my landlord isn't very responsive, how do I reach out to the city for help? Is it the fire department, ISD, the mayor's office?
It could be all those things. Probably the easiest thing to do is call the mayor's 24-hour hotline, and it's just what it says. It's manned 24 hours a day. It's 617-635-4500.
Say it one more time.
617-635-4500. And just issue your complaint. We get those sent to us pretty quickly, be it the inspectional services or the fire department, and we send the inspectors out pretty quickly. We're there to protect you and to make sure that you are in a safe environment. There are codes and laws on the books that have to be followed for your protection. So if you see something that, even if you think it's wrong, just give us a call, send us an email, any of those things you can use, and it will be, we take it very seriously. And Boston has such a large student population that it's important that everyone is safe in the city.
And Steve, should I worry that if I call the hotline or I get some other authorities involved that I'm going to get thrown out of my apartment? Is that something I should worry about? Because I think students worry about that.
Oh sure, and we do get that from time to time. Is that you don't have to give your name. You don't have to tell us. You can just give us the address and what you believe. We don't go out there and say, hey, this person called us and they have a complaint. We do this for a living. Our inspectors deal with a lot of different types of landlords, a lot of out-of-town owners. So we're used to dealing with this.
So we are here with Steve MacDonald from Boston Fire Department, Chris Rowell from the Department of Environmental Health and Safety at Boston University. We're doing a live chat just talking about fire safety here in the city and certainly within the spaces where our students are living, Brookline and Allston. And if you've got a question, go ahead and hashtag BUChat. We'd be more than happy to answer those for you, or just go ahead and type into the space that you see here. We've gotten a lot of information from the Boston Fire Department, certainly from Chris as well at the university too. So we were just talking a little bit about how students could engage help from the city as well. And Chris, what about at the university if a student might be an off-campus student and they felt like they needed a little help, a little referral, a little consulting? Could they contact your office?
Absolutely, they definitely could do that. They could go either to our website where there's a bunch of information. They could go to
tell us what your website is.
Sure, you can go to the bu.edu/fire safety.
One more time.
bu.edu/fire safety. Alternatively, you could go to our website, which is bu.edu/EHS, so Environmental Health and Safety, EHS. And there's a lot of information not only about fire safety, about other safety items, indoor air quality, construction, those types of things. But if you didn't want to use the website, you can certainly call our office. The main number is 617-353-4094, and we'd be happy to talk with you, refer you to the city or someone else within the institution that could help you out. I'd like to throw a couple other phone numbers out there that aren't BU related. Well, one BU related, one that's not. It's for you off-campus folks, it's really important that you dial 911. You got an incident at your house, a fire, some medical emergency, some sort of criminal activity, call 911. That's your first line of defense, the quickest way you're going to get assistance off campus.
Yeah, because I've heard we've had situations where there have been fires and that students have actually called other people before they've called 911.
That's right, right. Instead of sending a tweet out or getting on Facebook, hey, my house is on fire, call the fire department. They'll get there quick.
And then send the tweet
as
you're leaving.
That's right.
But get out first.
I think in the city, certainly in Boston and Brookline, we all rely so much on our cell phones that we think we're going to have them with us all the time. We may not be able to bring that device with us when we leave the house in a hurry. The fire boxes are outside, the red box on the street corner. You go to that, pull the hook, and the fire department will come. A signal gets sent right to Boston or Brookline Fire, wherever you're at, and then they'll respond immediately. So it's good to remember there's these other resources. And those folks that are at BU, at the institution, in our properties, you can always call the BU police for medical or criminal activity or fire emergency, 617-353-2121. Officers are on 24 hours a day and available to respond and help you out. So,
the other thing too, if I can throw a tip in, I was one of those folks when I was in college. I was awfully social, always liked to host people. And one of the things I didn't think a whole lot about that I encourage people to start to think about, because I worry about this. I know you might have a bunch of people over at your place. You're trying to be hospitable. Could be hordes of folks. And one of the things I hope that you'll do is think about how people can get in and out of your space. It's important, especially when you've got lots of people. 50 people in a single family type of home is a lot of people to get in and out really fast if you need to. So I'm one of those folks who says, be a good host, just in general, have a wonderful time, but also think about those little kinds of things that are important in terms of keeping your guests and yourself safe. So we're going to start to wrap it up. One last tip, one thing you say of all the things you hear about, I want to make sure that you remember from this. What would you say, Steve?
It's up to you to have the common sense to make sure you're safe. A lot of people are giving you information. You got it when you first started in school. Follow it. We know what we're doing when we tell you smoke detectors save lives, that extinguish a cigarette, don't leave candles unattended. All these things cause the accidental fires, and people don't believe it until it actually happens to them, that a cigarette butt can destroy a home. So listen to your advisors if you're living on campus. If you're off campus, use some common sense. Take a moment to think about fire safety. One thing we always tell people is, don't think about what happens during the daylight. Assume you wake up at 3 in the morning to thick black smoke in your bedroom. do you know what to do over the next 30 seconds on how to get out and how to react? That's what you have to think about.
And how can we find you, Steve, if we're looking for you online?
Boston Fire, the easiest way, you can follow us at Twitter at Boston Fire, all one word. The fire department's Facebook page is Boston Fire Department. It's that simple.
Okay, and Chris, one takeaway that you think is important here.
Absolutely. Sort of carrying on what Steve said, know your surroundings. Not just where you live, not where you're going out in the evening, but every day where you go into a store, know where the exit is. Know how to get out of the building. And if something doesn't seem right, say something. And we have given you some resources here today where you can call, reach out to the city, reach out to the institution, and give you some help. So see something, say something, and be aware of your surroundings.
Or do something.
Yeah.
And Chris, how can we find you?
Certainly you can call the number I gave before. It's 617-353-4094 at the university. And then our website, bu.edu/EHS or bu.edu/fire safety.
So it sounds to me like these folks are saying that you got to do a couple of things. You got to make your personal safety, and particularly as it relates to fires, your highest priority. And just take a quick moment to be aware of what's going on around you and be aware to just have a plan in your head if you need a little help. It doesn't take much time. It's not a whole lot to do, but a little common sense, a little bit of priority for yourself, and a little planning goes a long way. We appreciate you joining us today for this live chat. I want to certainly thank the folks from New Media for helping us out here today on quick notice. The Boston Fire Department certainly thanks a lot, and environmental health and safety, we really appreciate it. Thank you. And we'll post this and we'll keep it up there for plenty of people to see. One more pitch, bu.edu/fire safety as well. Take care.